Next Science, as David mentioned, is a biotech. And we are a biotech with a platform that addresses something very technical, but what it really helps is people with chronic wounds. And we can also prevent something called surgical site infection, which means the doctor operated, he did really well or she did really well, but you went home with a bug and suddenly life isn't as you want it. So these are both major management issues for healthcare today, and they cause patient misery and they cause healthcare to really badly run over their budgets. Currently, we're growing quite quickly at 57%. We today have 6 products in market, predominantly in the US. These products are sold through ourselves and also distribution partners. Some you might recognize, Zimmer Biomet, the leader in hip and knee replacement globally. And just recently, Terry White Pharmacy has taken on board our chronic wound product through their pharmacy network in Australia. We also recently announced the launch of a completely new business model to take part in the United States wound care market. It's called a DME, or durable medical equipment market. It is a game changer for us, so I'll give you some more detail about that shortly. Can we move to slide 3, please? So yeah, more disclaimers that nobody wants to read. So as we mentioned, quite strong growth, 43% in the quarter, 57% year to date. Current year to date revenue sitting at about $8.2 million. A big strategic development, accreditation as a DME supplier. So this means we've been audited 3 times, in fact, by Medicare and accreditation agencies, such that we can have a business that takes prescriptions from doctors and sells surgical dressings directly to patients. These dressings involve collagen. This reimburses really quite robustly at between $600 and $1,100 per 30-day supply, and a script is normally written for 30 days of supply. So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail in a minute as we move through the presentation. So the other things we did in the quarter, Zimmer Biomet started their launch. This is their second product of ours. They've taken our second and our prophylactic lavage into the market since July. We got market approval in Canada, which was very nice after 18 months of arguing with the Canadian government that we were a medical device, not another form of cannabis, really. And we shipped our first shipments to Oradome, who are the Blastex distributor in Australia, carrying both the product into the hospital market and then going through the chemist network. And it is now online with Terry White and in some stores. And we had our first shipment into our Australian distributor and our Surgex shipment into our New Zealand distributor. So really building out that footprint to try and get this technology everywhere, because it brings advantage to everybody. We also pulled through a fair amount of research, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? So as we said, reasonably strong sales growth. The growth in the third quarter was all around Bacterial, which is a surgical lavage sold by Zimmer Biomet globally, Experience, which is now sold in Australia and New Zealand, as well as the US. But in the US, we have partners as well as ourselves in the market, being Zimmer Biomet and Telebio. Blastex in the US and into Australia, and now into New Zealand as well. And Surgex, which is currently sold exclusively in the US by us and in New Zealand by NextMed. But the majority of the sales for the quarter were in the US market, which has some advantage. So any number I'm giving you is actually in US dollars. So with the current state of the dollar, I guess that's getting a pretty big lift. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this slide was really to show you the advantage of us opening our durable medical equipment company, or our DME. So as Blastex was in the wound care market, this is unquestionably a miracle in a tube. People love this product, but this is not a market or a product that is reimbursed, because it's completely unusual. There is nothing else like it in the market. There's no category. People struggle to understand it because it does take down the biofilm. It does promote healing. And those things have never happened before. So the problem with being a game changer is you're kind of out at front on your own. This gave us quite a limited market for a while. Now moving into collagen, and we will be moving into combining Blastex and collagen, suddenly we're in 10 times the market opportunity, and we're at much better reimbursement per patient. And that reimbursement comes from Medicare. So I don't have people having to go and negotiate with doctors or hospitals or anybody else. All of that reimbursement is set in advance. And it's quite robust. It's being reviewed every other year with price increases. And the commentary we had around resilience in the current market, these are Medicare patients. So we're talking the over 65s, the people who are ill, the people with chronic injury or diabetes. That's a very resilient market in a downturn. Those patient numbers go up in a downturn. I shouldn't say I've been in medicine, serving medical community since the 70s, but that part is true. And the one thing we know is quite often medical technologies are really very resistant to the kind of market forces that impact other things. People will save their lives, and hospitals and doctors will save people's lives regardless of the economic conditions. And if the government are paying, as they are in this case, this becomes a strong business unit for us to support. The purple are our irrigation products, so currently limited in orthopedic surgery, and we'll be moving into the bigger market. We're working with the FDA to get our indications expanded. Next slide, please. So our DME and entering the reimbursed segment of the wound care market. So this is something called an A code, which is a little bit different if you invest in the tissues. They're Q codes, so you sell the Q code to the doctor. You sell the A code to Medicare, really. So the doctor writes a prescription, it comes to us, we check the insurance, we confirm everything's in place, we ship the product, and then we put in an insurance claim, and then we're paid 15 days later. Topical collagen products are standard of care in wound care. Of 8.2 million patients in wound care every year in the United States, plus 90% of them would be treated with collagen somewhere in their treatment cycle. The place of delivery is about 10,000 podiatry offices across the United States, and about 1,800 commercial wound clinics. So big, broad market, big opportunity, products they're used to using. And what we're doing, and if we could move to the next slide, we are also giving people the opportunity to combine the collagen therapy with Blastex to actually improve their healing rates. So we're pulling through a very large study. We expect over the next 18 months to pull plus 10,000 patients through this study to show the impact of putting these two technologies together. Can we move through the next slide? So as I mentioned, Blastex is now available in Australia, and it is available online through Terry White, but it also going through the hospital network. Orodome have an ethical sales force that calls across hospitals and wound clinics and dermatology. Next slide, please. So we launched Experience, our premium advanced irrigation product, in April of 21. Over the last 18 months, we have been building out a cache of research that not only shows that we do a really good job of preventing infection. So we have several doctors who will be getting up next week at the American Association of Hip and Knee Surgeons showing their case data for 300 and 400 cases of hips and knees with 0 infections. But along this road, and with the help of our key opinion leaders, we've learned other things about this technology. And so we will also be showing science that shows that using Experience will improve the interdigitation of the cement to the bone. So quite often a hip or a knee implant is cemented, and what we're able to do is actually make that cement do a better job holding on to the bone. So big advantage, so that we've doubled the strength required to pull the implant out. At the same time, we did a lot of research showing that we are one of the only irrigation systems, apart from saline, that does actually protect the bone building ingredients. So the other things that are used, which are really very effective, I mean, they're all diluted, but even diluted, they're that effective that they take away the bone building blocks. So we feel this is a major advantage for orthopedic surgeons. We're also in the middle of a study that we'll be talking about where we're looking at our impact on controlling the amount of inflammation the joint gets post-surgery, another major advantage for the doctor in helping their patients recover. Can I get the next slide, please? So these are our distributors who are actually dedicated to the task in Novus Surgical in Australia and NXS in New Zealand. NXS now have a coverage of 5 across the New Zealand various islands, and Australia has 20 agents. The product will be shown at this weekend's Australia-New Zealand Orthopaedic Association. Both are active in the market and have already made sales. And in fact, we have second orders from both of these distributors. Next slide, please. So this is our cash waterfall. Record cash receipts in the previous quarter, up 85% on the prior year. We have $8 million in the bank. We have a reasonable balance sheet with no debt, but we will be continuing to push our sales and marketing expenses as we've done in Q3 and Q4. Remembering that we've just announced a brand new business unit. We're leaning into that business unit. We've expanded that sales force, so those expenses are starting to come through. Next slide, please. So this just talks about the fact that we did expand our marketing activity and have given people details. I think probably one of the key things to note here is over the next 5 weeks, we will present our research to over 5,000 surgeons in different Congress settings around the United States. We're also publishing significant research, and we've been really blessed to see the people that want to come and research with us. So as these research articles start to come out, you're going to see names like Mayo Clinic, Duke University, Cleveland Clinic, all wanting to see what advantages our products can bring to their patients. Can we move to the last slide, please? So why would NXS Science be a good investment? Apart from the fact that we save lives and heal people, which is always nice, this is a company that is growing steadily and continuing to augment its product portfolio so that that growth just continues. We have 11 regulatory approvals around the world, and we protect our assets with 46 patents. Our DME accreditation truly moves us into the solid face-to-face wound care market, where we really have been playing with the academically elite and the VA with Blastex, because the rest of the market basically couldn't afford it. People could not put their hand in their pocket and pay for $150 ointment, where Medicare will actually help us get these products and sister products like it into the marketplace. So expansion of the DME is a priority for us, including expansion of the US direct sales team, which drives market penetration. This is a face-to-face business. We have new distributions, as we've mentioned, in Australia and New Zealand, and we're pushing through on multiple research publications for both wound care and infection control. So that's us, David.
Judith, thanks for that, and thanks for a great presentation. As you said, making a difference in people's lives is always a noble thing, but the fact that you've been able to successfully turn that into a very successful business is pleasing, not just for yourself and your team, but clearly your shareholders as well. We do have a number of questions that have come in. The first one for me, in terms of inflation, how do you manage the headwinds of inflation in your business?
So we have ensured when we're writing contracts with distribution partners who are buying from us, so we're the wholesaler, that we have adequate coverage and can make pricing increases when things like inflation happen. And as far as our suppliers go, we're also advanced our contracts. So we're buying some of our ingredients ourselves. We're buying bulk for what are the key contributors, which predominantly are things like benzalkonium chloride, such that we can get leverage that people buying for single products wouldn't get. So we're pretty comfortable that at the moment we're reasonably well protected. Most of our revenue is in the US and in US dollars. So in the current environment, that's probably not a bad thing either.
And you're clearly excited about the DME. Can you explain why that is?
Multiple levels of excitement. The first one is that we actually hear from the patients, which is, you open your doors, and when you're calling on a doctor, you're kind of distant to how you're making a difference, but this is really in your face. You hear from patients, you hear from carers, but it is such a large business opportunity, of 8.2 million patients. If we can hit an eighth of them, right, we're going to change the world, because people who use our products in wound care will just tell you it's a miracle in a tube.
And in terms of market penetration and sales, a question here, I won't name the person who sent the question in, but since the implementation of the DME arrangement, what sales have you seen? Have you seen the trickle flow to a river, or is that the plan?
So day one was definitely a creek. We're now at day 9, and we're not quite a river, but we're a tributary. So we're growing every day. It's a really interesting process, because there's a sound that comes when the order comes in, such that I think I'm actually training Pavlovic responses across my organization to respond to the sound. But yeah, it's starting to move. And I mean, I picked up one just because I was at the desk when it came in, and this person sent a $5,000 order in, one patient, 5 wounds. He needed help.
And in terms of making a difference, clearly you are. What are your competitors, I suppose? How closely do they watch what you're doing? Clearly, when you're at the front and you're pushing the way through to get things happening, but and taking all the heat, if you like. Now that you've got to a point where there's both market and regulatory security there for you, how do they now view you, and what sort of conversations are they starting to have? Clearly not wanting to put you on the spot or breach any
no,
any material
that's
information.
fine. We obviously, people are worried about us. We know that because they've sent regulators after us. They've gone after us at times with lawyers over things. They go after people that come from their companies to us and tell them that they're breaching non-competes, which is not true, because we don't compete with anybody. Yeah, people know that we have something that is going to change the world, because most of the academics know. And they're always the first point of call, even if they might not be big users, they have big opinions. So yeah, our competitors are there, but the product performance is what's going to drive the difference. We either stop infection turning up, or we can get rid of an infection for somebody who might have been dogged by this for years. And it's that difference that will keep people coming back. And
patent protection?
Yeah, wide patent protection. So currently 46 patents across the globe, really, both for basics, method of action, all the way to disease treatments, like nominating the disease we make the difference in.
A great story, clearly a hidden gem, one to watch. Urge, as I said, for all the companies presenting, put it on your register and your share or your watch list. And keep an eye on it. But Judith, thanks for your presentation. We look forward to following the story with interest. Yes, David, thank you, and thank you to the network for having us.